Hey guys, it's Rick, Ozark Living Homestead. I missed the question and answers. I actually missed it the last 5-6 weeks or so because I had problems with my internet. Anyway, it's Saturday, I think the 4th, June the 4th, and I missed it yesterday because it just constantly poured raining. Anyway, trying to do it in the little camper, it's tight enough as it is in there, so I didn't get it done. So anyway, I'm doing it now because I just left Walmart. As you guys know, in the previous video, I just came into town to get some animal feed and stuff, and got a 4x4 post and a couple other things, and done a little shopping and stuff. I always try to do a lot of things when I come into town, so I'm not wasting time running back and forth into town. But anyway, I had a question, and in the previous video I talked about chickens. Apparently I got on chickens, but anyway, a friend of mine, here on the internet, of course, old Duke, worm getter. Yeah, I don't know why he calls himself old Duke, but hey, looks like a young man to me. But he asked something about if we kept the eggs, or keeping some of the eggs for ourselves, does it pay to still pay for the feed if you sell some of them? And the answer, which was in the previous video, basically yes, it does. For us, again, it depends on the area. I mean, we're in an area, there's a lot of people around here. This is very, 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 and when I say very, very, very rural, I don't think you can get a whole lot more rural, but I'm sure you can. But there's some places in here that people are way back in. You would never know people are living back in some of these little, I call them trails, but they're county roads or whatever. They look like trails. I mean, they're way off the beaten path. And, of course, a lot of them live off the land. They raise their own animals, and some of them have lived here forever. They raise kids here, and their families and for generations have been here. But anyway, getting back on what he was asking, he had mentioned that he, in a comment, that he had, that's what he asked me, and he said the reason why, being that he thought about doing a video, because he had run across a couple of old signs that he found in his barn. And so, of course, I responded to him. And I told him, to go ahead. I'm telling him now, but just because I'm doing this video, I want him to go ahead and do it too, because he may have something a little different, to add to it. But it actually does work for us now. And the reason I kind of got into this, it was not planned. I went to an auction, and you guys know I used to go to a lot of auctions. I haven't been to any lately because I've been concentrating on getting the cabin built. But I was at an auction, and actually it's where I bought the jacuzzi tub for $1. And I called him a kid. I want to say he's in his late 20s, because he had some very small kids. And you could just tell. Later on, I actually ran into a lady at another auction, got to talking to her, and come to find out, and I didn't know it at the time, but I remember seeing her there because she bought a couple of breeder rabbits, and I bought one of those. He only had like 4 or 5, I think, but I bought one of them, and I think I paid $15 for it, but it was a big rabbit, a doe. And but anyway, I got to talk to this lady, and come to find out it was the kid's sister, his older sister. He had sold, and this has a lot to do with homesteading, but he had sold at this auction, and he actually talked about it, and I actually talked to this kid, but he had sold everything that they owned at that auction. Literally everything they owned. He said they were not taking anything with them when they sold the property, they sold the house, the property, they sold it all. The goats, the pigs. They had a little homestead there going on. I mean, they had a beehive. I mean, they garden. I mean, they did a lot of stuff there. And he seemed like a very smart kid, you know. And I kept talking to him, and come to find out, the reason he did this, I'm probably not saying this right, but he suffered from post-traumatic stress disorder or something other from being overseas in Iraq or wherever he was at. And he was born and raised around here, and he was doing this homesteading thing because he didn't really want to be around people. He didn't mind being around people, don't get me wrong, but he really didn't want to be around big crowds in big cities and stuff. Anyway, what he did is he said he was going to sell everything. The only thing he was taking with him other than his wife and his kids was whatever he could get in their van. He sold the other vehicles, the trucks, he sold it all. He took one van, that was it. And I found out that he was moving to Alaska, and he was going to start a homestead there. Now, I assume he did. You know, of course, I don't know his sister personally, so I never kept up with it, but that was their intentions, was to move there. And I got to talking to him about chickens because I had bought some stuff. I had forgotten what it was at his auction, and at that time I gave him more for the tub, you know, if I'd have known that's what he was going to do, you know, because I'm sure he could use the money. But I was talking to him about chickens, you know, that I was just starting out with chickens or something. I forgot what I bought from this auction, and he was telling me, and this is where this all started at. He said, if you time it right and you have an incubator and you incubate your own eggs, and he said use solar. I mean, the kid was pretty smart. He said use solar, that way it's not costing you anything in electricity. So basically, your eggs are the only thing that you're using that's costing you anything that you wouldn't get any profit from. But he said if you can use solar, of course use it. But he said hatch your own eggs. He said then, you know, he told me how to tell the difference in the hens from the cocks when they're like a couple of days old or so, you know, 2 days old. He says, and then separate them out. He says you can sell the chicks for $3 or $4 because people will pay more for farm-raised ones than a commercial hatched chick. And he says, but if you'll take and just sell straight runs, which is, you know, a mix of cocks and hens, you know, chicks, he says, that way you get rid of a lot of the cockles because he said they're only good for meat. He said, but if you'll save a lot of the hen chicks, raise them up until pullets to their between 3 and 4 months old when they getting ready to start laying. He said, if you time it out to where they're just getting ready to start laying right at springtime, he said it's kind of weird that people get that spring fever come springtime and they all want to start getting their own fresh eggs, and they will buy them up like crazy. And so I kind of listened to this kid. He seemed like he knew what he was doing. So that's what I kind of did last year. And if you guys remember, and I never mentioned it, but if you remember back when I had all the chickens and I said I had sold off some of them, well, I had a bunch of Jersey Giant. They're a multi-purpose bird. They're a very big bird, especially the roosters. But they take a little longer to mature. But apparently there's a good market for Jersey Giants up here, because I put them on Craigslist, and I forgot how many I had, but I sold every last one of them, except for a couple that I kept. And someone raised some more chicks off of them. I'm going to separate them out, and I kept a rooster for them. I actually kept a couple of roosters and a couple of hens, but I sold every last one of those hens that I sold for $15 a piece. Now, I paid $1 a piece, I think it was, for them at an auction. But I raised them up, and most of it was free range. You know, some of it wasn't, of course, but when you add in the feed, how much it cost me a feed for the chick starter and everything, and then you add how many birds, not counting the meat birds that you got out of them, I was getting $5 to $8 a rooster. So it actually, I did very well on them. And so I actually have some now. I have some Buffalo Orpingtons, and I have some Rhode Island Red Chicks that a friend actually gave me. What didn't give me, I paid $1 a piece for them from him. And I'm going to use those to guys. I don't have very many of them, but I'm going to use them to breed and get chicks off of those guys to resell the chicks to those guys, and raise some of the hens up. And of course, I'm going to do it toward in the winter time when it's easier to sell them during the spring. And it's amazing, like I said, people bought them in the spring. They went crazy buying them. I mean, I wish I'd had a ton more. Just like my turkeys. I bought those as chicks. And if you guys remember, I had quite a few of them. I forgot exactly how many I had. Right now, because the Predator got one not too long ago, I have a tom and 2 hens. I only kept the Royal Palms. The black Spanish pair, I actually sold it, and the other Royal Palms, I sold them. I sold them for $75 a pair as a bald eagle. So cool. But anyway, it actually works. I mean, it actually helps me buy the rabbit food and everything else. So it cuts way down on the cost of a lot of stuff. Now, of course, when I start butchering the rabbits and stuff, you know, it'll be really worth it because we'll be eating the meat and I won't be selling them. But I do very well on those too. And again, I'm not trying to make a living doing this, but it actually helps pay for the seed, which keeps me from going in my pocket and spending the money on that instead of spending the money on the cabin and stuff like that I need to be spending it on. But anyway, I'm going to end up there. But I just thought I'd do that video on that. And again, this is the Q&A. Again, I've asked and I've gotten a response from one person, 2 people actually, different things to call it. One was the learning time, and mine was something I just come up with, which is not what I'm going to call it, but so you want to know, and with a question mark on the end of it, and it'll be done on Friday instead of Q&A Friday or whatever, because everybody does a Q&A Friday or Saturday or whatever. But anyway, I want some more input. If anybody has any other ideas of a good name to call it, or if you like one of those 2, let me know, and that's what we'll pick. But anyway, go by and check out Old Duke's channel, and it's Word and Gitter, and I'll put a link below where you can find it. And Old Duke, I remember a video, a few weeks ago, because I didn't do any for a while, but you mentioned something about me coming out from behind the camera, and you said that you wanted to see me do the moonwalk. Well, I haven't done the moonwalk yet, dude, but I commented back to you, be careful what you ask for. Well, I'm gonna do a moonwalk for you, Old Dude, but there's one stipulation. You got to do it too. And then once you do it, and you got to do a video of it, dude, and you got to post it, then you got to challenge somebody else to do it, and I'm going to challenge somebody else to do it. And then we're going to keep it going, and we're just going to keep challenging people till we get as many people as we can get to do it. But that's the only stipulation, dude. I'm going to do it anyway. But I want to see you do it, dude. All right, dude. You're going to get it in a couple of days, buddy. All right, guys. You guys have a great day. And if you like the video and you like the channel, give me a big thumbs up and subscribe and like. All right, you guys have a great day.